And now it's time for Power of Prophecy with your host, former professor at the University of Texas at Austin, career United States Air Force officer, and best-selling author, Texe MARRS.
Hello, friends. This is Texe MARRS. Welcome to another edition of Power of Prophecy. Today we're going to have secrets. It's a volume of secrets. Jerry's my assistant here in the studio. He's sitting over there playing with buttons. That's all he does all day is play with buttons. Well, there's a few little things you have to push back and forth and buttons, make sure the volume's right and that everything's going in correct. He's my radio broadcast engineer. Jerry, how are you today? Good. He's doing good. Well, we're both doing good. This is a great day. You know what? Now, people write to me all the time, and they're in the depths of, their woes because of America collapsing. Well, it sure is true. But, you know, that doesn't have to really apply to me and you, but it is a very sad thing to see this great country going under. And it's planned, too. You know, the things in the news today are about the University of Missouri football players all getting together, and they got the president. He was forced to resign. The chancellor of University of Missouri at Columbia is resigning because they didn't meet the demands of the black students. About 8% of the university is black, and the blacks demanded that they have a quota. At least 10% of the university be black. And they wanted a training throughout the campus, a training of professors and students, race sensitivity training. And then they demanded that the president of the university admit that he was a prime example of white privilege. You know, all the white students, they have white privilege. This is a white patriarchal network of evil. All the white students are evil, of course. And the guy was so scared. You know, Missouri is a liberal state. Democrats run it. And the president, you know, they said that several incidents had occurred. Epithets were thrown at black students. They were called the N-word, nigger, you know, and I doubt that very seriously, you know, but they make up these things. They also said that the Star of David had been painted on one of the dormitory walls or something, a Star of David, the six-pointed star. Now, to me, this is strange because the blacks were angry about the Jewish Star of David being painted by some huckster. But actually, you know, usually when the Jewish Star of David is being painted, you know, as graffiti on a wall or something, it's done by a Jew who wants to blame, you know, the KKK or white supremacist. But in this case, it turns out that both the chancellor of the university and the president are Jews. Yeah, they're both Jews. So it seems to me the black students they were responsible for the Star of David. They were trying to have a message, you know, blasting the president of the university for not doing enough to promote black relations. You know, it's garbage, of course. It's, you know, they have the Ferguson effect. They admitted it. We have a right to do this because of what happened at Ferguson. That good boy, that gentle giant, that Michael Brown, he was a good young man. He was killed by an officer. Well, what did he do wrong? Of course, he just robbed a convenience store. He was walking down the middle of the street as if he owned the street, and the policeman stopped and said, "Would you go over to the sidewalk and walk?" And basically, he told the policeman where to get off and kept walking in the middle of the street. By the way, the guy with him, with that Michael Brown, was recently arrested this last week. He's been arrested about 3 times since the Michael Brown incident. They were a bunch of thugs. But you see, the FBI and the Department of Justice almost camped out at Ferguson because Obama is a prejudiced guy who hates white people. That's plain to see. You know, whites across America are now running scared. I mean, blacks beat them up, shoot them, kill them. And then the media and the police say, oh, that was not a race crime. That wasn't a hate crime. What was it then? But if a black says anything, I mean, if a black gets called anything by a white person, then, of course, the white person is guilty of a hate crime. He has to go to prison 10 or 15, 20 years for committing a hate crime. But the blacks can do anything they want to the whites. I think the Missouri is a great setup, the University of Missouri. And the football stars. You know, they're demanding that the university have a quota, 10% blacks. But the football team is 80% black. Why don't they have a quota there for whites? Now think about that. Almost every member of the football team is black. Why do they allow them to recruit so many blacks? Why don't they recruit the whites? You know, we have a great player in this area, a football player. He's with Lake Travis High School, one of the great high schools. I think they're undefeated. They're ranked number 5 in the state in Class 5A. Fantastic quarterback. Those passes, boy, just a great guy. And I understand he's not even being recruited by a major university. Probably because he's white. They're all looking for black quarterbacks. They want to prove to everybody, we're not prejudiced. We have a black quarterback on our team. This is the height of insanity, my friends, that we even look at a person and notice what color they are. You know, Jesus did not come for blacks or whites or Jews. He came for whosoever will. Now, isn't that prejudice for Jesus to come for whosoever will? He didn't come because of race. But the Jews say, well, yes, the Jews are God's chosen people. We're the apple of his eye. It's only us that matter. You Gentiles, you're a bunch of cattle. They're prejudiced. They're racist. They're bigots. And then, of course, there are some white people, not many, but there's some people that are racist, bigots. And the black community, there's many of them. Proportionate. Percentage-wise, there's many more blacks that are prejudiced. I mean, look, you remember what happened when O.J. Simpson murdered his ex-wife, murdered a young man who had taken her home, a young white man. He cut their throats. He butchered them. But he got off. Why? Because he's a black man. Because the jury was black. It was all a setup deal. The two prosecuting attorneys, at first, they didn't say that. They covered it all up. But now they will tell you. It's been years since O.J. Simpson was acquitted of those murders. But now they say, we didn't have a chance. It was a done deal. He was going to be acquitted. He was going to be found not guilty because he was black. And he had a black lead attorney as well. You can get away with murder if you're black in America. And evidently in Chicago and cities across America, blacks are getting away with murder every day. These gangs, a 9-year-old was killed just the other night in Chicago. A 9-year-old boy. Turns out his father was a drugger, and a gang member. So a rival gang said, we're going to take it out on you and your family. So they killed his son. Poor little 9-year-old kid. You know, America is crazy with discrimination, with hatred, with racism toward whites. Let me just say it up front. You know, back in the 50s and 60s when I was a young man, I could see that many black people were being discriminated against. And I was in favor of giving them equal rights. But they don't want equal rights. So the majority of them seem to want more. Now, they want a quota. But you see, the black race in America is declining. Is declining because we have more and more foreigners coming over. We're having 1 million or more foreigners coming to America every year. Refugees, immigrants, illegal immigrants from Pakistan, from China, from India. They come. And then, of course, from Mexico, from Central America, from South America, they come. So the number of blacks in America is shrinking every year. Shrinking. shrinking. With all these foreigners coming in. And now the Democrats are all catering to the foreigners. And they tell the blacks, yes, we're on your side. Sure, they're on your side, all right. Way off to the side. They don't care about black people. Politics, a game for fools. It is. A game of evil for fools. But as Christians, we don't have to be prejudiced, but we can recognize prejudice. I can recognize blacks who are prejudiced. And as long as we have the rights that we do in America, I'm going to tell people about it. Oh, you said that black man is a racist? Well, that makes you a horrible. Are you a member of the KKK, Texe, MARRS? Are you a member of some white supremacy group? Listen, friends, I've been opposed to any kind of supremacy groups. That's why we have our ministry. You don't understand. That's why I oppose Jewish supremacy. Listen, friends, I'm on Jesus' side, and you will be too. Whosoever will may come. If a black man repents of his sins, he gets on his knees, he prays to Jesus to come into his heart, Jesus will not deny that man because of his race. Nor will he deny a Jew or a Gentile doesn't matter what race you are. It's by grace, by the love of God. All of the people on earth, it says in the book of Acts, were put here by God. Out of one blood, he created all the people on the face of the planet. Now, you can break yourself up in all these little tribes and all these little hate groups. And I do hate racism. I do hate these blacks that are prejudiced. And they're carrying it way, way further than they ever should have. They are creating racism. Now, yes, I want to state that again. Barack Obama has created racism. It was quickly fading in America, and he revived it. And this University of Missouri thing, they're reviving it. The blacks that are out there that are demanding their rights, they're demanding more rights than the whites have. They're demanding quotas. They're demanding jobs that they don't deserve in many cases. Now, the black people that are intelligent and understand what I'm saying, they're willing to go forth and to work. They're willing to go get a job. They don't want to be on welfare. They want to get a job. They want to work hard. They want to go to college or whatever, improve themselves and prove themselves as well. Good for them. But many of these blacks in these inner cities, they're just in the ghettos. They're just dealing drugs and joining these gangs and killing and robbing their own people. They're slime as far as I'm concerned. I'm willing to put forth a hand and help those who want to be helped. But those who don't, well, that's their problem. At the same time, I'm not for denying a white a job or a promotion because he's white. That's crazy. I'm against affirmative action. I'm against racial quotas. I'm for equality as far as you can do it. Now, I know there are people smarter than me. They probably deserve maybe to get ahead in life. Maybe you're smarter than me. Maybe you deserve things. Maybe you deserve a better house than I have. Maybe you deserve a better car. Okay. I don't mind that. There are people out there hard work. My next door neighbor's a good Christian man, and boy, he works constantly. He's just going and coming, working all the time. He ought to get ahead. I don't care if he's black or white. He's white, but it doesn't matter. He ought to get ahead. Well, in any case, enough of that. I just wanted to tell you my theory. I believe it sides with Jesus Christ. I'm against racism. And you Jewish supremacists, I'm going to expose you. You won't believe the work I'm going to do on you this year with God's help. I'm going to put out 3 or 4 or 5 books about you and your evil religion. Why? Because it's wrong, because it's evil, because Satan is in it. And I should do it. And of course, everybody gangs up on Texe MARRS, and they want to. I mean, I'm getting letters all the time now. People want to kill me or think I should. They'd like to, see me go. Well, I'm not going to go. I'm going to be right here. I'm having fun. Yeah. Jerry, we're having fun here. We got it made. Every day, Jerry says. Absolutely. We're in Texas. The great state of Texas, the state of the Alamo and Davy Crockett and Jim Bowie and all the greats. Well, oh my. Hey, let's talk about some secrets. You want to? Well, I got a lot today, and they're all great, interesting things. Hey, Marco Rubio, that guy's a big fake. If you want to see a rhino, Republicans in name only, he's it. It's interesting. He's got this Floridian Jew named Paul Singer, a billionaire, that's going to give him millions of dollars. In fact, he's got a lot of Jewish billionaires down in Florida that are supporting him. Now, this Paul Singer, he's the same guy that gave Mitt Romney $3 million. Well, of course, because Mitt Romney was a big fake, and so was Marco Rubio. Now, Marco Rubio just introduced 2 new pieces of legislation. They were immigration bills. He wants to open up our borders and allow all of these foreigners from India and Pakistan, China, all of them with high-tech knowledge. He wants them to come to Silicon Valley or Austin, Texas, or Boston, Massachusetts, and go to work. Of course, they're going to displace Americans. Americans who have high-tech degrees in computers and lasers and all kinds of electronics and robotics. They're losing their jobs. You see, they make too much money. I mean, an American computer engineer, robotics engineer he might start making $70,000, $80,000 a year. But you can get a guy from India to come over and do it for $50,000. So all these big high-tech companies, Facebook, Microsoft, Hewlett-Packard, all of these companies want to hire all these foreigners. They don't want them to have to sneak into America. They want them to get green cards, immigrant visas. And so Rubio helps them. Rubio's helping all these foreigners come into America legally. These companies are hiring them en masse. I mean, hundreds of thousands of these foreigners are coming into America. They're getting jobs teaching at our universities. They're kicking out professors that are American, bringing in these foreigners. They know nothing about our country, our Constitution. All they know is about the money. And our workers are being displaced. And Marco Rubio, he's the jerk that's doing it. Now, there are others, of course. All of them there. Jeb Bush, the big man from New Jersey. I call him the big man. You know who I mean, Chris Christie. These guys, John Kasich, Ohio, that guy's a total jerk. They don't care about America. They're rhinos. There is no Republican Party. There is no Democrat Party. Now, Trump seems to be different. Now, there are 3 reasons that Trump is hated by the big boys. Now, I followed Trump all my life, and I've noticed he gravitates to anyone with money that'll help him. He's given $25,000 campaign contribution to Rahm Emanuel as mayor of Chicago. That's terrible. He gave $35,000 to the Clinton Foundation. That's horrible. But he says, I did it because I wanted to help my company. I gave to Democrats and Republicans. Why? He's because when you give them money, they'll do favors for you. You know, that guy tells the truth. Of course, that's why he gave him money. They'll do favors for him. But he says, I'm running for president on my own money. I'm not taking a cent from anybody. I'm spending my own money. He says, he says, watch out for the super PACs. That's the political action committees. Like Paul Singer and these other people. Sheldon Adelson, all of these Jews and all the, I mean, kosher politics, friends. He's the only one not taking money from the big boys. Ted Cruz, he takes money from him, and his wife is a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. Not only that, she helped write the North American community toward a North American union. She promoted it. She's for it. She favors it. Cruz lied and said, she was opposed to it. He's a liar. I said liar, L-I-A-R, Ted Cruz. He met with 10 mostly homosexual billionaire Jews in New York City recently. Why was he in New York? Well, he was there for a Champions for Israel meeting. Who was his sponsor? Sheldon Adelson, the casino mogul. Boy, tells you what Cruz is all about, doesn't it? Now, this new trade plan, they have Obamacare for the hospital in the medical expenses. Now they have Obama Trade, the TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership. It's sitting in Congress right now. Next month they're going to vote on it. Paul Ryan, there's another fake for you. Paul Ryan, remember he ran for vice president under Mitt Romney? That guy's a big fake and a half. You better watch out for that guy. He's a socialist. Oh no, Tex, why he was an Ayn Rand fan. He's a great conservative. He's a fake. Believe me, friends. He just pushed through 2 bills favoring immigrants, these guys coming in from Indonesia, from India, from Pakistan, taking American jobs. These high-tech companies are forcing American workers to train their replacements. Can you imagine? We're going to have to replace you. You're making too much money as an American computer engineer. By the way, before you leave, we want you to train your replacement. Mr., Mujahal Patel from India. How would you feel about training your own replacement? Then they're going to fire you right afterwards. That's what Rubio wants. That's what Kasich wants, the governor of Ohio that's running for president. That's what Chris Christie wants. But Donald Trump is opposed to that. He said, I'll fight that. He said it's horrible. He said of the Trade Act, he said it's a disaster for America. Wow. Well, you see, Ben Carson's for it. That's because he's been given money by the Jews. You say, Tex, can you prove that? Of course I can. He was brought by a Jewish group to Israel. Just this last year, Ben Carson visited Israel, paid for by a Jewish group. And he said all these nice things, all these there. He said, well, the Palestinians, why are they causing you people so much trouble? Why don't you just deport them all? Get buses and round them up and take them all out into the desert of Egypt. Put them out there. Huh? Hey, and Mr. Carson, it's their country, not the Jews. They were there before the Jews were. Well, what is that all about? Are you an idiot or what? You must be an idiot. And of course, Carson says, I'm for Obama trade. He's for this trade. Listen, friends. Drudge, if you've ever read the Drudge report, you won't be reading it anymore after this bill is passed, because Drudge has said they're going to close me down. They're going to close us all down. They're going to close my websites too. They hate unfiltered news. They love CNN, Fox News, ABC, CBS, NBC. Those are going to be the only networks out there with the news. They're not going to be all these small people like Power of Prophecy giving out the news. That's part of this plan. They have new copyright provisions. You can't use any news from anywhere. They're going to shut us. I'm telling you, they're going to give the internet the registration to the United Nations. One of their rules is going to be you can't criticize anybody. You can't criticize the government. You criticize the government, they'll shut your website down. So they can't do that. Folks, there's a good man named Arthur Topham up in Canada right now he has a trial. He could end up in prison for 10 or 20 years. Why? He wrote some things negative to the Jews. Negative about the Jews. Truthful things. But they say truth is no defense. You said things that offended Jews. They got him on trial now. He's being tried by a judge and jury. His name is Arthur Topham. Read about it. Get on the internet and read about Mr. Topham. He's being tried right now for what he said on the web. What did he say? Did he say kill Jews? No. Did he say beat them up? No. He just gave his views on foreign policy and the Jews, and he quoted Jewish books and things like that. They said, you can't do that. You can't quote Jewish books. Unless the Jews, of course, loved Israel. Then you can quote them. That's up in Canada. They won't hate crime laws passed like that in America. They're going to get them too. You wait and see. They're going to, with this new Obama Trade Act, it's horrible. Fight it, my friends. Write your congressman. But Paul Ryan said he likes it. And Marco Rubio, let me tell you about this. They needed 60 votes in the Senate to pass this bill to approve fast track for this bill. What is fast track, this new Obama trade bill? Fast track means that when they vote on the final bill, which is right now, before the Congress, when they vote on this, they cannot amend it. It's up or down. You got to vote for it or against it. That allows all these congressmen to vote it in and say, I was opposed to a lot of the provisions, but I did it because of this little bitty act here. It's about 50 or 100 bills in one. Remember what Nancy Pelosi said about Obamacare? She didn't read the Health Care Act. She didn't read the Affordable Care Act. She didn't know anything about the legislation. She said, we have to pass it to find what is in it. You have to pass it to find what's in it. This bill is over 1 million pages. 1 million pages. It's about 5 feet high stacked papers. No one has read this bill, but it's been worked on for about 6 straight years by bureaucrats in the White House, by the big boys, the billionaires, and their high-tech companies. And they've got it in. They want to destroy freedom of the press. They want to destroy all of the internet sites, websites that expose government corruption. They want to get rid of us. They want to end American sovereignty. All of this. They've got currency plans. They're going to debase the dollar. They're not going to let us trade overseas certain products. For example, did you know that Obama now will not allow natural gas to be sold? That's why all these gas companies are going out of business. That's why they're closing their spigots. We cannot sell our gas overseas. Why is that? Because they've got a bill and it's been approved already. You didn't know that, did you? We could hire millions of more people for the oil and gas industry in the United States. We have more oil and gas than anybody on earth, but we can't do it. We cannot sell them to overseas markets. They're going to have us going back to the way it was before. We're going to be buying from the Saudi Arabian sheikhs and so forth. We're going to be buying all our gas oil from overseas. They're paying back Saudi Arabia. See, we have to pay Saudi Arabia, and then we give them all the armaments, and then they go fight the terrorists that we want to kill. They go fight the countries like Yemen in the Middle East. Well, they won't do that unless we pay them to do it. How do you pay them? Well, they have a lot of oil and gas, and they want to sell it. We said, we won't sell ours. We'll keep ours locked up. You go sell yours. Oh, yes. There's no free trade here. There's no fair trade either. It's just corruption. Don't approve Obama trade. Tell Marco Rubio, go to the blazes. Tell Ted Cruz, go to blazes. Tell them all. Tell your senator, tell your congressman, you won't put up with it. Write a letter to Paul Ryan. Do what you need to do. We must stop Obama trade. I'm telling you, friends, the coffin is already built. The last nail is going in. This is the last nail going in right now to end America. It is. We have a hope. We have a little bit of hope. Donald Trump, I'm not telling you who to vote for. He's the only guy that opposes this. The only one. You have to vote for him, don't you? What can you do? I'll be right back after this brief message. I'm Texe MARRS. You're listening to the Power of Prophecy. We have a secrets volume we're going through today. Hello, friends. Texe MARRS again here. My new book is out. It's entitled Pastors and Churches Gone Wild. Gone wild. I asked the question, is America and the world, has the Christian establishment gone to hell in a handbasket? I mean, are these Christian ministers off their rockers? They must be. This book has hundreds of stories, true accounts of the top leaders in America and the world. They're going crazy. The all-nude church. The all-nude church. There's one. I have a picture of the man standing up there. Now, I don't show him all. I stop it at the waist, but you can see him naked from the waist up behind his pulpit. There's the preacher that says, I'm 666. I'm Jesus reincarnated. You'd think they'd get rid of that guy fast, but his church is growing. He has branches in the United States and Canada. He's flowing with money. Just shows you what Satan can do. Then there's the woman pastor who has a nice-sized Lutheran church she's pastor of. And when you go in the door, be sure to grab a big old handful of condoms. Condoms. She says, well, having sex with people who, whether they're your husband and wife or not, it's okay. You take these condoms. It's just like communion, she says. You're giving your body. What? It's like communion? That's blasphemy. These things are going on across America. I'm telling you, it's amazing. How about the Catholic Church in Chicago? I have a friend, I had a friend. I tell the story in the book. He went in the Catholic Church, to go to Catholic Mass on Sunday, and the church was full, and then the Catholic cardinal was conducting the services, and he said, we've got a treat for you today. Sister so-and-so is going to give her gift to God. And they had a big old circus tightrope up at the top from side to side of the cathedral, and a woman got up in her little pasties and a little barely thing right over her, her what, and she walked on a tightrope. She was a circus, and she did it for Jesus. Yeah. There's a group called pole dancing, or women, called pole dancing for Jesus. There's another group called hookers for Jesus. We're ex-hookers, but they dress all nice and fancy and wear their pink outfits, and they go to porno movie festivals and all that and give out brochures for Jesus. This is incredible, folks. There's even a crackheads for Jesus. That means cocaine crackheads. I mean, and these churches, they're having red hot bashes, dancing and champagne at our church. Come and visit this Sunday. It's like no church you've ever seen. Well, I'll bet it is. Then there's a pig alley club over in London. It's a church. But wait, when you go in, there are 4 burly, big, husky transvestites dressed in Catholic nuns' habits who will greet you at the door. Say, well, who would go to a church like that? It's painted pink, by the way. Church's pig alley is painted pink. Father Michael Seed will make you a knight of certain order if you got $25,000 to $50,000 for him. Who would go to a church like that? No one would go to a church like that, or would they? How about Prime Minister Tony Blair? He's a member. In fact, this Father Seed is one of the most influential Catholic priests throughout Great Britain. Boy. Meanwhile, a gentleman wrote to me and he said, my Episcopal church is going crazy. I mean, the homosexuals are taking over and they're going crazy, and no one believes in Jesus on the cross anymore. I am fleeing the madhouse, he told me. He said, I have decided to leave the Episcopal church. Now, just at the moment I was going to write him back and say, wonderful, I read the last paragraph. He said, I have left the Episcopal church and I have now joined the Catholic church. Oh, my goodness. He's left the madhouse and gone into a flop house. Well, what is that all about? Talk about jumping out of the pan into the fire. He did it, didn't he? You'll read about Billy Graham, who says you don't need Jesus for salvation anymore. No, Billy Graham would never say that. Yes, he did. How about Joel Osteen? He was asked, are Mormons Christians? At a talk show, he said, yes, they really are. No, they're not. Read what I say about it. How about all the Christian ministers saying Freemasons are good groups? Yes, join them. No, don't join them. I'll tell you why. How about the Duck Dynasty group? Everybody says, Duck Dynasty, yeah, those guys have beards and everything. They're like old hippies, but hey, they support Jesus. Wow, one of them, Uncle Si, he's going around with a big beard and all. He's going around to Christian churches and preaching. Yeah, well, why is he also doing Masonic hand signs, Masonic body signs? They're all Freemasons. I show you the picture. Now, if you got my book, Codex Magica, you can interpret what they're doing. Duck Dynasty for the Masons. That's what they're promoting, Freemasonry. And they're having a ball at your expense and my expense. It's amazing, friends. This book, Pastors and Churches Gone Wild. You know, I've been doing periodic reports. I think I'm up to about volume 9 or something of Pastors and Churches Gone Wild. A couple of them, I label them Gone Berserk because it just seemed like, wild was too tame almost. Churches Gone Berserk, Pastors Gone Wild. That's my new book. Now, for $22, I'll send you this book. It's sort of a large-sized book. Has a number of color photos in it. You'll be amazed at what you see. I promise you. You won't believe it. Some of you will just, boy. But in any case, I want you to have the book. $22. Please add $5 shipping and handling. A total of $27. Ask for the book, Pastors and Churches Gone Wild. We'll send it right out to you. Now, go to our website. You can get it there too. powerofprophecy.com. You'll see the book advertised. Or call us toll free, 1-800-234-9673. You can write to us at Power of Prophecy, 1708 Patterson Road, Austin, Texas, 78733. Pastors and Churches Gone Wild. Is this the end of America? Is this the end of the church? No, my friends. Jesus says even the gates of hell will not prevail against his church. This is the establishment. These are the establishment folks. They're mom and pop Christians like you and me. We're still out there. We can't even find a good church anymore. If you can't find a good church, friends, go to Bible Home Church. Bible Home Church on the web. I give a sermon every week there. Bible Home Church. Okay, let's go back to our regular program now. Christian books. You know the reason why I established Rivercrest Publishing? I published my own books. Because the publishing house I had wanted me to change my books. They said, you can't talk about other people. You can't mention the Jewish religion. You can't mention the Catholic religion. You got to be friends with everybody. You got to love everybody. What they want me to do is write a bunch of lies. I wouldn't do it. I started doing my own books, and you know what? God has blessed us. Now, I get sent a catalog twice a year, and they show me all of the new Christian books being published by the other publishers. I want to give you one example. This is Ave Maria Press. It's a Catholic press. They have a new book out. Let me give you the title of it. I know it's a bad word. I'm just repeating the title. If you go to a Christian bookstore, you're liable to see this book. It's entitled, My Badass Book of Saints. My Badass Book of Saints by Maria Johnson. Unbelievable. Can you believe that's a Christian book? My Badass Book of Saints? These people, nothing is sacred to these people. I mean, this is the Christian establishment. This is what I'm talking about in my book, Pastors and Churches Gone Wild. It's terrible. And they're so evil and so depraved, the churches of America. I'm talking about the biggest churches in America, the Baptists, the Episcopal, the Methodists, the Lutherans, the Assembly of God, all of them. They have created an inroad for these satanic groups to get through. That's why we have the Church of Satan, and it's prospering here in America. My sister goes to a small Protestant church down near Beaumont, Texas. She wrote to me recently. She said, we have a new Christian sister that is a member of our church now. She told us in the town where she comes from, Conroe. Now, Jerry, I don't know how many people Conroe, Texas has. It's a small town, probably about 20,000. Yeah, Conroe has about 20,000 people. She says, we now have a church of Lucifer in Conroe. A church of Lucifer. We also have an Islamic mosque, a Muslim mosque in a little town in Texas, and a church of Lucifer. She had to drive a great distance coming out just outside of Beaumont to find a Christian church, I suppose. Islamic mosque. I haven't seen one of those my whole life. But now there are Islamic mosques going up in cities across America. There are churches of Satan, churches of Lucifer going up. That's why I wrote this book. I'm not trying to be a bad person. I don't want to report these things. But the Bible says, have no part with the works of darkness, but rather reprove them, expose them, it says. That's what it tells us to do in Ephesians. And I'm going to follow what the Bible says. And I pray you'll get this book. You know, a person just wrote to me and said, I want numerous copies. I want to give one to everybody in my church. Good for them. Probably some people get mad at you. Oh, you shouldn't talk about people. You shouldn't say these things. You know, what is that all about? You shouldn't say anything when they're out there butchering the Christian church. I love the Christian church, but I don't love this establishment. I don't. Well, we get into politics now. Rand Paul. Now, Rand Paul's a good guy. He warns about some of the others. He says Marco Rubio is just another Obama, and that's true. You vote for Obama, you get Marco Rubio. You vote for Marco Rubio, you get Obama. They're the same thing. But he offered a bill to cut aid to Palestinians. Do you know that? We only give, I think, a couple $100 million a year to the Palestinians. We give it, and it goes through the Israelis. Our aid to Palestine goes through Israel. You know what they do with it? They just keep it. They don't give it to the Palestinians. Rand Paul said we should cut the aid because the Palestinian Authority wants to join the United Nations. So we need to cut their money so they cannot join such groups as the International Criminal Court and such. What? They own Palestine, the Palestinians did, before the Israelis got there from Poland. Meanwhile, the neocons are going wild. Now, what's a neocon? That means a new kind of conservative. They used to be Marxists. They used to be socialist. But back in the days of Richard Nixon, they changed. See, they're scared of Nixon. Nixon, boy, if he had stayed in office long, he was going to go after the Jews. He knew about the Jews. He knows what they are, what they did. He tried to do something about it, and they destroyed him and his vice president. It's the neocons. Then they said, you know, we've got to, if we're going to take over America, we've got to control the Republican and the Democrat parties. But we don't have any Republicans. There's so few Republican Jews because we're all liberals. We're a bunch of liberals. We're pro-immigration. We're pro-big business. We're pro-abortion. We're pro-same-sex marriage. Why don't we just disguise ourselves? Let's call ourselves neocons, the new conservatives. Again, they used to be Marxist. They used to be socialist. They used to be Democrats. Then they joined the Republican Party. Now they're Republicans. They're the new Republicans, the neocons. People like, well, Krauthammer of Fox News. You've seen him, haven't you? The guy Krauthammer. What a fake. What a fake. He's a neocon. There's the guy Crystal who does the Weekly Standard magazine. He's a neocon. All these neocons are opposed to Trump. That tells me something's good about Trump. Why are the neocons all opposed to Donald Trump? Why are they trying to stop him? Ah, yes. They're trying to get Jeb Bush in as president. They're trying to get John Kasich, Marco Rubio. They want Marco Rubio in because they know he's a rhino, Republican in name only. Stop Trump, say the neocons. Rand Paul said something interesting. He says, you know, they're not just Republican neocons, fake Republicans. They're also Democrats. You see, they don't call themselves neocons and the Democrats. They're just Democrats, but they're neocons. Pro-Israel all the way. Rand Paul warned they're neocons. Now, Robert Kagan is one of them. Robert Kagan is one of the Jews who put together a group called Project for a New American Century in 1998. This group, Project for a New American Century, said we need a new Pearl Harbor. We need a Pearl Harbor to get Americans all fired up so they'll be willing to put our money and our troops and send them overseas to the Middle East and fight. We need to remain the New World Order, and we're not going to be able to lead the New World Order unless we're willing to fight and die and spend our money in the Middle East and around the world. We need a Pearl Harbor to get people all fired up. That's what Roosevelt did, you know. Roosevelt knew the Japanese were going to attack. He goaded them. He provoked the Japanese. They attacked Pearl Harbor. They needed another new Pearl Harbor. These neoconservatives, these neocon Jews. By the way, you don't have to be a Jew. You can be a Jew helper, like Jeb Bush. Jeb Bush is a member of Project for the New American Century. Now, Robert Kagan, his wife is named Nuland, Nuland. She's with the State Department now, working for Obama. She's the one that saw the overthrow of the legal constitutional government in Ukraine. All these problems we're having with Ukraine and the Soviet Union, she's this troublemaker, Miss Beverly Nuland. Her husband is Robert Kagan. He's one of the directors of the Project for a New American Century, which got such a bad rap, now they've changed their name. But he was asked about Hillary Clinton. Robert Kagan, you're a neocon. You're with this neocon group. Are you for or against Hillary Clinton? I mean, you're a Republican, right? Here's what he said. Now listen. Quote, I'm comfortable with Hillary Clinton on her foreign policy. He's comfortable with it. If she pursues a policy which we think she will pursue, it's something that might have been called neocon. But clearly, her supporters are not going to call it that. They're going to call it something else. There you have it. If you're a Democrat neocon, they don't want to say neocon because that's new conservative. I mean, you're going to be a neoliberal, right? If you're for war in the Middle East, if you're for soaking up all the American resources to fight the Jews, to create a greater Israel, to destabilize Libya, Iran, Iraq, Syria, all of these countries of the Middle East, we're fighting over there and dying and spending billions of dollars to help Israel. And what are we helping Israel do? Defend themselves? No. They're going out. They're extending themselves. They're destabilizing all the Middle East. They're destabilizing Ukraine. They want to control, and they want to keep building outward. And Hillary Clinton is a neocon, says Robert Kagan. But, of course, her supporters will call it something else. Now, here's another neocon. He's a Democrat. Now, Chuck Schumer, Senator Schumer from New York State, he's the top Democrat other than Senator Reid, Harry Reid of Nevada. Now, Senator Harry Reid of Nevada is a Mormon, but he wears the red handband of Kabbalah Judaism. He wears the red, I said headband, excuse me, folks. I meant wristband, the wristband. And I have seen him giving these Jewish hand signs in the Senate. And I said, wow, that guy's into the Jewish Kabbalah. Well, many Mormons are pretend Jews. They really are. In fact, the Mormons claim they come from 2 Jewish tribes. We'll get into that sometime. But here's what Chuck Schumer, senator from New York, second-ranking Democrat in the U.S. Senate, big pro-Israel guy. He's a Jew. He spoke at his synagogue. They asked him to get up and speak. He said, I am a protector of Israel in the Senate. I believe that's why God made me U.S. Senator from New York, to protect Israel. Say what? Let's stop right there, folks. Chuck Schumer is a senator from New York who is in the Senate for one reason only, to protect Israel. That's like all of these Republicans, too. We're going to defend Israel. While Bill Clinton said, he told a Jewish group, if Israel is ever attacked, I will go volunteer, I'll put on a uniform, I will get down in the foxhole with my rifle, and I will fight Israel's enemy. I will do it. Huh? He's a draft dodger. He wouldn't fight for America. Remember that? He's a draft dodger. When he was a college student, he ran away and hid. He's a draft dodger. But he claims he would fight and die for Israel. See how mixed up, how crazy these guys are? Here's what Schumer said. He says, you know, my name, Schumer, comes from the word shomer. It means guardian or watcher. My ancestors were guardians of the ghetto wall and Chortkov. Oh, that's Poland. And I believe that Hashem, that's an Orthodox name. He's one of the greatest rabbis of all time, the Hashem. And I believe Hashem actually had that name. One of my roles, very important in the United States, is to be a shomer, a guardian or watcher for Israel. And I will continue to be that with every bone in my body. Well, good for you. Well, that's what I say, you know. Let's vote for Schumer. Let's make him, well, put him in the Knesset. Let's send him on a fast boat over to Israel and tell him to stay there. Boy, I tell you, these people. Well, Islamic refugees are swarming into Europe. There are going to be 1 million of them this year. They're changed. I mean, countries, Sweden, Norway, they've got so many refugees coming in, they're going to collapse. They're warning. We don't have any place to put them. They're everywhere. Our welfare, these are all welfare groups now, welfare states. Our welfare is running out. We can't, they're on the verge of collapse. This is planned, folks. This is the destabilization of Europe. Israel and the United States is doing that with our friends Turkey and Saudi Arabia. We're doing it in the Middle East. We're fighting and we're killing all the people there. We're stirring up the governments. We're destroying the governments. We're destroying people's homes. We killed 500,000 Iraqis. Yes, right. We killed them. Cities like Mosul and others. I mean, we have marauded. We have butchered all of those countries over there, folks. Israel, the United States, with our allies, Saudi Arabia and Turkey. We're the founders of ISIS. We're the supporters, the defenders of ISIS. Goodness gracious. And these refugees, they've lost their homes. They don't want to lose their lives. And they're swarming. They're going across the Mediterranean. They're going across land masses. They're swarming into Europe. And Obama says we're going to take 200,000 or 300,000 of them into America. Syrian refugees. He stirs them up. He bombs their homes. He bombs their lands. He bombs their hospitals. He bombs their shops. He kills thousands of Syrians with American air power, with our so-called allies over there. He destabilizes their country. And then he says, don't worry, we'll resettle you in America. Did you know he's giving green cards to all of them? And American welfare? And they get a stipend. They get paid by the U.S. government. They're given a home. They're given free medical care. They're given groceries. They're paid transportation. I mean, because they're resettling, they're refugees. They're not immigrants, they're refugees. He's waiving immigration law and allowing hundreds of thousands of refugees to come to America, and many of them will be Muslim terrorists. They'll set up Islamic centers. They'll set up Islamic mosques everywhere, and they'll hate America. You're the one that made us come here. You're the one that bombed our homeland. You're the monsters that did this, you Christians. They're going to hate us. They're going to settle right here in America. They're going to hate us, refugees from Syria. Just believe it, folks. Haters inside this country. And they're going to collapse Germany. Did you know that 300,000 people marched in the streets? German people, white people, marched in the streets. They said, we don't want all these refugees. We can't handle them. We don't have jobs for our own people. Meanwhile, on another subject, Russia's Vladimir Putin is going to a great big conference. It's being sponsored by the World Bank and other groups. By the way, a woman named Christine Lagarde is now head of the, I think it's the World Bank, isn't it? Yeah, the World Monetary Fund, which is part of the World Bank system. She says we need a global tax on energy. That means you pay up at the gas station. Every time you fill up your tank car, you'll pay to the United Nations. We need a global tax because of the environment. We need to save the Mother Earth, the environmental disaster. All of the ice is melting in the poles. She says the ice is melting. Islands are going under. We've got to stop climate change, global warming. Folks, there is no global warming. And now a new in ASA, a NASA report, and also the National Oceanic and Geographic Center, I believe. That's a government agency. They have studied the ice in Antarctica, down in the South Pole. They find it's been growing for years. And there's more ice. There's 10 times as much ice in Antarctica as there is up in the North Pole, up, above Canada and Alaska. The ice is growing. It's not melting. There is no global warming. There is no climate change. If there's any climate change, it's toward cooling. We have a global cooling problem. But Obama and the environmentalists want money. Now, Putin says it's a hoax. It's a New World Order hoax. Can you believe that? He's fighting the New World Order. Good for him. He's my man, Vladimir Putin. He's our hero. Give that guy the Nobel Peace Prize. By the way, he's the only one fighting ISIS. He's sending all of his jets down there fighting ISIS. Oh, boy. Good for him. Good for him. Now he's fighting global warming. He said it's a hoax. He's right. It's a hoax. Meanwhile, Christianity still going downhill. Not true Christianity, but the fake, the establishment. Bill Gothard is a man who was so loved by everybody. All of the Bible churches and Free Will Baptists and thousands of Christians says Bill Gothard is a great man. He had a ministry. He helped young girls and young men. And, he was a family sort of guy. Bill Gothard's ministry. I never met Bill Gothard, but I always heard he was a great guy until recently. Turned out people that worked for him and maybe even him had been molesting young girls. Molesting young girls. Bill Gothard's ministry. Folks, the Bible says judgment will begin at the house of the Lord. How far it's going to go, I don't know. But judgment will begin at the house of the Lord. It doesn't surprise me that Bill Gothard has fallen. It doesn't surprise me that hundreds of ministries are now being exposed. I'm helping expose them because I want you and me to stand up for what's good, what's pure, what's right. That's why I'm opposed to these wars in the Middle East. Jesus said, blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed are the peacemakers. He was opposed to war. He was opposed to the death machines. And he certainly was opposed to the molesting of young girls and boys. I'm going to continue exposing these things and letting you know the secrets that other people won't even tell you about. In fact, I'm going to have a program next week about our American presidents who have been good in fighting the Illuminati. I'm going to go all the way back to George Washington. I'm going to tell you about President Hoover, Truman, and Eisenhower. They deported millions of illegal immigrants. How about that? I'm going to tell you about that. And I really encourage your support. Maybe you could just drop me a line. I'd like to hear from you. You don't have to send me any money. If you can, though, tuck in $5 or $10 for this ministry. But if not, just write me a letter and tell me you appreciate us. We've been doing this now. It's our 30th anniversary. Our 30th. 30 glorious years fighting the devil. And I'm going to keep it up, too. I'm going to keep it up. I remember a man many years ago on radio, I was on some kind of talk show, and he called in. He said, Texe, MARRS, I'm almost afraid of the devil after hearing you speak. I said, well, good for you, brother. Good for you. But I'm not afraid of the devil. I'm only afraid of God. And I know that Jesus Christ is my friend, and he's your friend as well. Well, until next time, my friends, this is Texe MARRS, inviting you to tune in each week during this same time and discover the power of prophecy.